Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to this training session designed to help you prepare for your Microsoft AI Fundamental certificates. My name is Dr. Mabrouk Abomida. I am lecturer of AI and the course leader for the AI with Computer Science in South Wales University. This session will include some talks about machine learning, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. We'll be using content based on the Microsoft Learn, which is available for you to access it freely as part of this course. And we're basically gonna try to demo some labs. But before we start demo some labs in other videos, I wanted to cover some terminology with you first. We are going to be using the Microsoft-friendly ecosystem, Azure. And the first thing you need to be able to use Azure is to have a profile. And I trust that you already have this because a lot of you have already done the first course, Azure Fundamentals. If not, it's very easy, self-intuitive. You can just go to azure.com and then start from there creating your profile. Now, once you're in Azure, and you want to work on creating your first AI project, you will notice that you need to create something called workspace. And this is basically where you are going to put your machines, your data, where you're going to deploy, add your pipelines, and so on and so forth. This is the workplace that you start working from in the Azure Designer bit. The second thing you'll find yourself coming across is computes. And computes are basically the machines, the virtual machines that you are going to be using for your computations. Basically, in real life, this will be your computer, your workstation, and so on and so forth. In here could be a single instance, or could be a cluster. And as any hardware, you'd need to identify things like CPUs, nodes, or basically number of nodes, and so on and so forth. Because we're working on an AI project, then we need to have datasets. And these datasets are basically what we want to do, what we're hoping to do with these datasets is basically train them. Train this dataset. And the way we normally train the datasets is basically by using models and AI models. AI models could be divided or sectioned into two main subsections. The first one is supervised, and you can say that under supervised there is regression, and the output of regression is numeric. We've got classification, and this is basically classes or categories, the output of that. And we've got also time series, and the output of that is a numeric or future times. Now, the second main category is simply unsupervised learning, and the output of this is simply either categories or organizations. And what most people do was, if they start with unsupervised learning, they will categorize things and then they will feed them to a supervised learning model. So these are the models, okay? And what we do, we'll be hoping to train the data sets. So what is the output of the trainer? The training is basically inferences or predictions. And the main outcome of the training based on the inferences or the predictions is being able to deploy. And deploy is another term that you'll find in Azure. And in this, basically, you deploy your model for a real life client application. Or to create an API of some sort. Now, let's get back one step for a second. Let's go back to training. And as we said, with training, we need the data. And most of the data you'll find around is unprepared data, unprocessed data, raw data. And raw data is very, very hard to work with. Most likely the training will fail, and on that basis, the outcome of the training wouldn't be successful. So what we can do with the data, we can apply something called pipeline. And in this pipeline, we can process our data, process and pre-prepare our data. We can do things like splitting our data. We can do, we can normalize. We can pick specific columns we want to include in our data. We can choose our inference columns. We can visualize our data. There's lists of other things that you can do in the workspace in Azure. The main things I wanted you to focus at when I say workspace is basically your white space in Designer. The compute is your computers. You create them under your machine, your virtual AI machine. And then you start your pipeline, and from your pipeline, you choose your data set and then create your pipeline. And then you train, you evaluate, you apply a model, and then you evaluate. This is all what I wanted to cover today in today's video. I hope it was useful for you, and we'll practice this in the lab later on a live session. Take care and see you soon.